Hey guys, here I am back from my trip in Delaware, and on the video I did when I first got to Delaware, I hopped on and I told you about an experience I had with my flight going there, about how I chose to have a good experience, and I chose to, you know, enjoy my time doing that, and I had a great time, and it was an easy flight. So, coming home, pretty much the same experience with a couple exceptions. Um, when I got to the airport, I got in line. I could hear people in line around me saying, "I hate Frontier. I hate this flight. I'll never fly this airline again. This is terrible how they treat us." Da 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 da. Meanwhile, I had had an easy time checking in. I had an easy time getting my boarding passes. I had an easy time getting all my everything for the flight prepared. Um, I walked up to the counter, and the lady in front of me was mad as heck and was just yelling and not very happy. And the next person next to her says, next to me. And I walked up to her, and she had this beautiful red hair dye job. It was really nice. I said, "Your hair is really lovely." And she said, "Well, thank you." And she treated me with a nice smile, and we joked and we laughed. And she weighed my luggage, and I said, "Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your help today." And then she said, I said, where do I go? Where's the security line? She says, "Just you walk right down to the end. You just catch that escalator up. It'll take you right to it." Very pleasant experience. I wandered all the way to my gate. I went through security without an issue. They just waved me basically through. I got all the way to my gate, and my flight was delayed by 30 minutes. My flight was delayed by 30 minutes. But I sat there, and while I was sitting there, there was a family right across from me with a young girl, little girl, toddler, and I was able to sit there and play with her and do magic tricks and all kinds of fun things. Just had fun with the moment. I had an extra half an hour to play, and so I did. I took that extra half an hour to play. Got on my flight. I was in a first class seat because they bumped me up again, and I sat down, and the whole front of the plane was packed, except for the middle seat between me and the guy on the other at the window. I was on the aisle, and so we had complete space. Everybody else was crammed in. We had a complete opening beside us. I joked around with the flight attendant and had a lovely flight. The flight was supposed to be an hour and 47 minutes. It took 1 hour exactly. They shaved 47 minutes off, and though I left a half an hour late, I arrived at the airport 12 minutes after I was originally supposed to. I went out. Went out to my car. My bag came out, the second one coming out on the thing, and I walked out to the parking garage, got in my Jeep, and had a leisurely drive home. And on the leisurely drive home, I saw a cool car that I liked, and I got into my house and I walked in, and right now coffee is brewing because it's 60 degrees here in Ohio. So I was like, "Oh, this would be a great little coffee on the back deck thing for me." So that was my experience today, and there were people around me who were having horrible experiences in the exact same place I was. It had nothing to do with it being an experience out of their control, or anything to do with Frontier being a bad airline. It had everything to do with their attitude and their expression that they were putting into the world. See, everything you see is a product of belief, and if you have chosen to believe this is terrible, you're going to have a terrible experience. I had a lovely experience, and even the delay, which you'd think would be a hassle. I have flown hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of flights in my lifetime, and I have never had one airline that hasn't had a delay. And so I couldn't fault them for that. They were very nice about making sure we were very informed about where the plane was and when it was landing, and it was a great experience, right? So my point of this is that your world may be bright, but the person next to you's world might be dark. And it literally does come down to you making your part of the world so bright that you affect the people around you. That lady at the counter, when I said she had lovely hair, and she smiled, right? Do you think the person who was in the line next she had been there talking to her, she'd have smiled. The other thing that happened was, while I was at the airport, I walked over and I got a cup of coffee. You know me and my coffee, right? And I walked up to the counter. It was fairly early in the morning. And I walked up to the counter, and the lady behind the counter was really just not engaged with the customers that were coming up. And there was one guy ahead of me and nobody else really in line. And as I got up to the front of the line, I looked down and I said, "How are you today?" And she giggled. And she didn't know what to say, because people aren't engaging each other. You know, love one another enough to engage and say hello, see how they're doing. "How are you?" And she laughed, she giggled. I said, "You reacted like people don't ask you that a lot." And she laughed again and we smiled. She said, "I'm good." You know, she was foreign. I'm not really sure which nationality she was, but she, you know, when I asked her the question, it changed her morning. It changed her day. And when I went over and I use half and half when I'm out on the road, and they were out of half and half. I said, "Ma'am, you're out of half and half." And she went and she changed and came back. I said, "Thank you so much." You know, give people the credit. They're not, you know, people who are behind counters. Yes, they're there to serve you, but they're people too. You know, we should be serving each other love. We should be serving love to one another, no matter what station of life they're in. If they're behind the counter serving you, they're no worse than you, and you're no better than them. And treat each other equally. Treat each other with love and compassion, and you'll experience that in your life. If you don't treat people that way, you won't. And you'll be complaining about all of your experiences. So that's my thought on this today. You guys have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon. See ya. Bye.
Thank you so much for watching. The John of New channel is solely funded by your generous donations and purchases of private readings and merchandise. To help out, go to johnofnew.com or use the donation link in the description below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share.